Alderman Payon, I understand, is on his way. Otherwise, Alderwoman Finlayson and I are here. Do we need to approve the agenda? And I understand 2 items on the agenda are coming off for C, the 2 items under 4C, City Manager approved transfers.
And are we adding SA 23?
And we're adding SA 23-20.
Yes, so Mr. Chair, I'll recommend approval of the agenda with the deletions of the city manager transfers and the addition of SA 2320.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, so moving on to the approval of the minutes. I did read them, but I can't read them now.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the minutes from the December 4th meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I always mean to thank you, Takia, for the minutes. We appreciate that effort. So sometimes I forget, but the thanks are always in our hearts for that work.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on in the agenda to SA 22-20 from fire. It's $6,021. We have the chief here, but do we need to drag him up to the podium?
I don't know. That's up to you. We've got $6,021 extra on the Senator Amos funds to appropriate. They're going to use it to purchase supplies for fire protection, rescue, and ambulance services.
All right. Are there any questions from the committee? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of recommend approval of SA 2220.
I second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Sorry. Thank you for making the trek over. All right.
Thanks,
Next
Chief.
item. Yes, thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda is somewhat larger. This is SA 23-20, General Roadways. So, Madam Finance Director?
I'll explain this. So BG&E was doing work in the roadway.
No kidding.
Yeah. On its gas lines in Homewood. And we would like to, the city agreed with BG&E that they would dig up the road only once, and we would do the patching of the entire road since we were also doing some work there. Okay. So they have asked we received a check from BG&E to help pay for the cost of their disturbance in the right-of-way. And we're going to do the paving. And they've asked for the $274,869. We need to add that appropriation to the capital project so that we can spend that money.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask?
There.
We'll welcome Alderman Payon.
We got Public Works here if you want to ask them any questions about the paving.
I guess the question is, the purpose is so that the road is consistent. If the city does all of, we're talking about the Homewood project, Ms. Patrick. Yes, please. Instead of allowing BG&E to do their piece of it, we're going to do the whole road, inclusive of their portion of it, and so they're paying what would be the cost.
Yes. So I'm Marcia Patrick, and this is Jennifer Fite, our project manager for the paving. Yes, this is an excellent opportunity for the city to work with BGE to coordinate these the utilities project that the city's doing for the water mains, and then their their gas work, and then we'll just do one paving.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to continue this as they move through Eastport Phase 2 as well.
Is your mic on?
Hello. Yeah, we're hoping to continue this as they move through the city. They've got a couple of larger projects coming up.
Could you introduce yourself again, please?
Jennifer Fite, Public Works.
Jennifer
Fite, Public Works.
Public Works. Thank you.
Yep.
So you're saying that you're going to continue working with BG&E in this fashion to get them to...
Yep, that's our hope.
Okay.
So this will be the same with all the mess they've made over in Ward 8? Where they keep trying to find the gas leak and keep reopening the road?
Well,
Sixth and Severn, it's been particularly egregious, and then up Chesapeake, I believe. And that's been done for a few months now, but
well, there's emergency work that they have to just go out and do
Right.
what they're doing. And then they have planned projects for upgrades of entire areas. So you're going to see both, but we're working with them on the upgrades. Well, we work with them on all of it, but in this instance, we're specifically working with them on the large upgrades so that it ties in with our paving program.
And that way we don't end up with half-paved roads. We can actually go in and resurface the entire road.
Right.
Fred, this is your neighborhood. Any questions?
Yes, it is. No, I can't wait for it to be done.
May I ask another question? Do you get a copy of BG&E's overall plan for our city streets?
Sometimes. It depends on the work. So if it's a larger project, they do give us drawings that come through permitting. If it's emergency work, such as the 6th
Yeah.
and Severn, we don't get plans immediately. They follow up afterwards with where the patches are.
Okay, I
But
know
in most
emergency.
cases, yes.
Okay, I know in emergency situations, it's not possible, but I just wondered whether they shared with us or worked collaboratively with us.
They do,
Okay.
to the
great.
best of their ability. They have a lot of moving parts as well, and they're a big organization, so.
This is a wonderful step in the right direction of coordination, so that I realize it is a mess while it's underway, but it should be a one and done instead of piecemealing it.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of SA 2320. Recommend approval.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No. Hallelujah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. One last question. I had an email from a constituent complaining about the situation on the gateway to Eastport, that stretch of 6th Street at that point between the bridge and Severn Avenue. And part of that disrepair is because of BG&E things. Do you know, I know you probably don't know off the top of your head, but could you let me know where repaving of that segment is on the schedule? It is a gateway overlay, and it is certainly the gateway both from Eastport to the city and from the city to Eastport. So
PG&E should be coming into Eastport, in theory, in the summer to finish their gas work.
coming, in theory, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We'll
Yes.
have a theoretical patch.
Of course, so they
Just
have.
pretend that bump wasn't there.
They're trying to get their permits through our department, and then as soon
Okay.
as they get that done, we'll have a better idea of when they're coming back. We don't want to resurface if they're going to go in and completely put a trench in the middle of the new paving.
Right, okay, I'll let my constituent know.
Well, may I ask, is there an expedited process for getting permits through our process, planning
Yes.
process?
Yes, we've had 3 or 4 meetings with them regarding Eastport too. So we're
That
working
doesn't
with
sound
them.
expedited if it's 3 or 4 meetings, so.
It's a lot of utility relocating, so we have to coordinate our existing utilities and our future upgrades with BG&E before we can sign off on their permits. It's
Okay.
a lot of coordination effort.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's been enlightening on many fronts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that completes our agenda. I think we're at the point where it's update from Finance Department.
Yes, we're very hard at work in the finance department. We have sold our bonds, as we sent out an email last month to tell you about that bond sale, and that was very successful. We're in the process of finishing the CAFR audit, pulling together the financial statements. Those final steps. We've fully hired all of our staff positions. We should have a new person starting here soon. And unfortunately, that comes with a couple other people going out for long-term medical issues. So now I'm down a couple people, but I wait for them to get back. And we're working with OpenGov to do our initial budget development process. The departments are busy pulling their budgets together and getting them into Munis for their initial request. And then by the end of this month, we're going to start pulling together the full budget, the first draft.
Okay, well, it's good to hear that as well.
Well, may I ask a question? Where does the mayor fit into the process? Does he then
Mayor?
go to OpenGov to look
Well,
at what-
that's not going to, that full implementation of that software is not going to be ready for others to get in and look around and click around and look at things. We're working with them right now. We've got the workforce planning module almost established where we can use the Munis payroll data to do projections for next year's payroll that will feed into the budget. We're working on what they call the budget book builder so that we can use the Munis information, put it in OpenGov and create a budget book. That we're hoping will be ready this year, but right now we're waiting to hear from them on if they can get it done in time. And then after that comes those other layers where it gets loaded up and you can click around and look at the information.
Will it be available to the Finance Committee when we get the budget, which is the second Monday in April?
Will what be available? OpenGov?
Yes. How are we going to receive, last year,
We're
we
not,
didn't get the line item, and we were promised this year we would be able to look at the line item budget as is called for in the code.
so when you say line item, I will be glad to give you a line item detail of every single line item in the budget.
Okay.
And whether
Except that-
OpenGov will allow you to go click and look at the details that are in each line item. I'm just not sure if we're going to be there
Okay.
by the time we need to this year.
All right.
And hopefully by that date, maybe. But we're still working with OpenGov on the implementation, so.
And for the budget, which is down the road, are we going to have 3-year projections this year?
3-year projections. 3-year projections or 5-year projections?
Well,
Well,
we'll take
we're going to,
5, but-
we're going to try. That's one of our list items for this year's budget. We'll try to get that to you. Did I answer your question? The mayor, we pulled together a budget. Katie, when's the schedule to present to the mayor? Do you remember that date? We have a budget schedule that we've
Okay.
pulled together with the key dates.
You gave that to the FAC, right? Financial Advisory
Yeah.
Commission?
Yeah, the budget schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah, the planned budget timeline, yeah.
Right.
That's what we sent out to the departments in order to have them pull their budgets together. We sent them a timeline and a memo. I'd be glad to share that with you.
Well, and my question, of course, we want to know how this process is working, but my hope is that there will be a new pseudo-department that's created entitled Human Services, let's just say, and I'm not wedded to any title, I don't know, that will speak to housing, job opportunities, social services, and that kind of thing. So I'm looking to see where we can.
So I have heard nothing about that yet, but I don't know who you've talked to about that. Have you been working with the mayor?
No. And that's why I'm asking where we are in the process. Is it now time that the mayor is beginning to formulate what his budget is to look like in April? I mean, has that process started? Should we? set
Okay,
up a
so
meeting?
right now, the departments are putting together their request, that what they want. It's a baseline based on what they're doing currently, and they've been asked to submit those requests to us by January 15th. And then after that, we start working on pulling it together. If you had in mind that you wanted some kind of reorganization or establishment of a new office, I would reach out to the mayor and the city manager at this time so that we could incorporate it into what we're pulling together.
Okay, and should that include, for financing purposes, staffing and, staffing?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think,
Okay.
I think what we need to do is to make an appointment with the Office of Law and get legislation going. I already have an Office of Law legislation to create a zoning hearing officer, so you should be aware of that.
Okay, all right. Well, so those are the things that, if the mayor decides to include them in the proposed budget, we have to start pulling them together at the end of this month. So February is our month to pull it all together. And then I believe we present to him early March what we would like to do so that we can have it ready for you by April, for council by April.
I have discussed the hearing officer with the mayor, but I'm not sure he heard me.
Okay, so it's time to
But the
do that.
legislation is in draft at the Office of Law. Last question I have is, I think I missed a deadline for submitting things for the CIP.
Yes, there was an email and some materials that went out in beginning of December, end of November, asking you to submit any kind of capital projects that you wanted to include in the CIP this year. We have heard from other council members, but if you didn't put anything in that, what was that deadline, the 31st? 31st of December. So if you had in mind you wanted something, I would pull it together very quickly.
So what I have in mind is a small amount of money, at least initially, to start to continue follow-up with what the Corps of Engineers did in looking at sea level rise issues for Ward 8. I talked with Alderman Savage. He thinks he might have some sea level rise issues as well. So and I would certainly send this out to any of the alder persons that have low-lying areas. This is something that I have discussed not only with the mayor, but also with the county executive. I'd like us to be the prototype. The county has like thousands of acres of land that are in the same circumstance as Ward 8 has some of. The mayor and the county executive spoke to this yesterday at the Chamber of Commerce legislative breakfast, so I know I'm late. I opened it and I set it aside and say, I've got to respond to this. I'm thinking in the order of magnitude of 50,000 or something like that, just to get it started.
So that email, I believe, included a form
Right.
that you were to submit with some explanations of what you wanted, the support, the amount of money you think it's going to require to do it, that kind of thing. And that needs to be completed and sent back for your initiative.
So we have a prescient city attorney
Yeah.
who knows that we were talking
morning.
about things. Mr. Lyle, welcome. Sheila and I, and we may have others, have in mind, and we'll get you a legislative request, creating, I don't know whether it's an office or a department of social services. So in my concept, and Sheila can speak to hers as well, as police move from arrest to assist, we feel that we need a city facility to help with the assist part, social services, things that could help with substance abuse, things that could help with job training, a whole category of things, so that we don't just give people a record and send them out into the world, but we recognize that there's a difficulty. I'm in my mind's eye, we're talking about maybe a staff of 3 who would be would have social service backgrounds. So we'll get you a formal request for this, but we were talking about budgeting for it with the finance director. So we'll get that to you as soon as we can.
I'm looking for someone who would have, as far as staffing is concerned, some expertise in job opportunities, job trainings, job something. We have no one in the city, Mr. Lyles, that deals with job opportunities. Someone who has some expertise in housing. And it may be connected to our liaison from HACA, for example.
Right.
Someone who has some background or some connections to transportation. And of course, the health issues,
Right.
like drug addiction and that kind of thing.
But also mental
Oh,
health
yeah,
issues too.
absolutely. But then I was kind of making a list, and we were talking about 3 people. I'm up to 5, but I know that won't work the first year. But someone who has an overall knowledge of poverty.
So
And I
think
know that's quite a hodgepodge.
this is very consistent with the mayor's One Annapolis initiative. I think this is a group of people that can be liaisoning between the police department, I think the housing function in planning and zoning, and probably some other connections. So I'm not sure it's a department, although it doesn't bother me. I'm agnostic on that. But certainly some kind of an office. We haven't, it may want to reside under one of the existing departments or be its own freestanding, but it would certainly need to be budgeted. And it's not going to be a trivial budget amount. So we'll have to work on the structure. And Michael, I let them know about the impending legislation on the zoning hearing officer, which would have a budget impact because we'd have to hire that person and possibly an assistant to that person. So we'll need to get that legislation moving forward as well so that it can tie into the budget in time for the mayor to know about it. I've talked with him about both of these, and I think you have on the social services aspect, but not in any formal sense.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So, Mr. Lyles, do we have to put this in writing again, or are your copious notes enough?
My copious notes are enough. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
But we can put it in.
Well, we're
writing.
going to work on
Yeah,
it
we'll
too.
put it, we have to noodle on it some more. We'll put it in
Yeah.
writing.
Yes,
I understand the
We
need
have
to doctor it.
we'll provide research first and get back to you. So it'll be a
Okay.
conversation we have, and as we develop the language that you need. So we'll do some research first on the legal implications as well as where it could possibly go in the code and what it looks like. And we'll talk with some of the other city staff as well to see what implications are for their agencies as well, and get back to you with that first. And then we can talk about fleshing it out as a code provision.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Returning to an earlier topic, do either of you have low-lying areas that should be included in this?
What do you mean
Okay.
low-lying?
Ones that will be overtaken by sea level rise over time, so that we can have the Corps of Engineers. I mean, this is really getting serious at the you heard it, at the chamber. People are really starting to focus on the fact that there will be sea level rise, and we will have to deal with it. We had that wonderful Weather Together initiative that was moving forward, and then Lisa Craig unfortunately decided to leave us, and I'm not sure where it is in the scheme of things, but it is a real issue. It's one of the drivers for the whole city dock initiative. I think downtown, we kind of have a set of plans in the works for taking care of downtown, but we need to take care of the people too.
Right.
The people who live in the city. So I'll be working on something to belatedly get to finance and the rest of you. But I think we need to get started on that. The Corps of Engineers, Army Corps of Engineers, did an analysis of Eastport, particularly 2nd and 3rd Street. And so we know what areas will, in the not too distant future, start having significant water table rise.
My
And-
church will be waterfront property in
Yes. Yeah.
not so
No, I
distant
know.
future.
And so we may have to have a bridge going from 4th Street to 1st Street in Eastport with off ramps at churches.
And we laugh, but it's not funny.
I know it's not funny. It is serious. And I want us, we the city, to be in the vanguard. I want us to be able to go to Stewart or whatever county executive and say, we've got the prototype. We've done a lot of the analysis. These are the same things that you can get done for Mayo or any of the peninsulas. I've got to tell you guys about this Peninsula Coalition, by the way. So you can follow in our footsteps, but we want to be first in line for federal money and all the other dollars that we're going to need, because certainly the city can't deal with it with its resources.
I think it would be helpful for us. You know where your low-lying
Right.
areas are.
Actually, you do
but-
too, because it's in the Weather Together book.
Right, but I think all of us need to be reminded. I mean, I've got at least 3 rivers that run through Ward 4. I don't think about those areas as low-lying areas, but
They will be.
they will be. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I would guess that all 8 of us have areas that are primed to flood
Yeah, I think
if the
there's
right.
areas up Spot Creek in Ward 1. And you have Weems Creek. And
Right.
so if you've got a
So-
creek, the sea level's right where the creek is, and then add 2 feet to it within 30 years, and now you know what's going to be wet.
That's right. So people like Bywater, which is on Church Creek, don't
Right.
think about
Yeah,
that.
but-
Or Hacka.
Yes.
you know, their
They have
offices.
some
I
of
don't
the
even
best-
know what that creek's
They
called.
have some of the best impending waterfront property in the city.
Sad,
All right,
sad,
so-
sad.
Sorry to drop this on you
Yeah.
as a surprise, and it's my fault. I was remiss and
Okay. I would just say that when you're on the form, that you're very descriptive and that you have a basis for what you put out there as a price tag. It's going to be difficult to fit anything into the budget next year, including the other office that you're talking about, the human services role. So we'll have to make plans. If the mayor were to agree to put that into his recommended budget, we'll have to figure out a way to make it work in the budget.
the mayor very carefully said yesterday that he didn't have a tax increase in mind, but that he's not adverse to tax increases.
County executive didn't say that,
Stay in
though.
your seat. No, he said, he said, actually, who was it that, I guess it's
Sid
Sarah.
Saab.
Sarah Elfreth is looking at not tax increases at the state level, but reforming the tax system, which implies.
Equals a tax increase.
Yeah, well, which, yes. And of course, Stewart is looking at graduated tax levels, which will increase taxes for the more wealthy. All right, so are we ready to adjourn?
Yeah, if Ms. Dickerson is finished with her report.
Thank you.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Very efficient meeting, team.
Thank you.